Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Wednesday night. Welcome to the Debrief, the brand new show here on Sports KENTA. I'm your host, Jose G, and next to me is my dear friend, the top chico himself, Rico el Glorioso. What's going on, broski?
Man, what an epic Wednesday. So many good things happening on NXT, on AEW with Beach Break. Man, it is great that this is the debut episode for us here with so much amazing stuff to cover. I'm so glad to be here. How are you doing, Jose?
I'm doing very well. We got a lot to talk about. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you share tonight's show on all your favorite wrestling groups. We're going to cover tonight AEW and NXT. Both shows were fantastic, Rico. Fantastic. I thought the break, what's it called? Beach Break on AEW, the Beach Break show. That show was really good. And these quarterfinal matches and semifinal matches that we had at the Dusty Classic was great. Not to mention Edge made an appearance at the CWC tonight. Woo. So, man, it was great. It was a great night for wrestling. So let's dive right into it, Rico, because
let's do it.
On the NXT side, the show opened up with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, Big Mommy, going up against Team Ninja and the team of KZ Catanzaro and Kaden Carter. And, man, another banger of a match with these two. Team Ninja, man, they were this close on advancing to the semifinals. So close. KZ Catanzaro hit that beautiful 720 senton. But dude, it wasn't enough. Raquel Gonzalez got that unbelievable choke slam in on Casey to get the win, advancing next week. Man, what were your thoughts on that opening match of the night?
They are seriously pushing, and they need to continue to get behind Team Casey, Team Ninja, because these women are fantastic. They are so talented. Casey Catanzaro, obviously, if you guys didn't know, she's famous for American Ninja Warrior, being the first woman to complete one of the exhibition courses, one of the trial courses to get to the actual show. And we got to see some of the athleticism when she got flipped up onto the scaffold, and she even climbed up it a little bit and wound up diving off of that, and then get to see that 720 senton once again. Like, this should not be the end of this tag team, even though they did get eliminated. We were hoping they were the underdog. They were the true underdog team in this one. And we knew it was going to be tough out against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. They put on one hell of a show, but just came up so close, man.
Dude, I definitely believe that there's women's tag team gold in their future. Absolutely. Oh, they have such good chemistry with each other. But Raquel Gonzalez right now is on another level, dude.
She is the future of that women's division, and that's not even including the storyline going on with Io, Tony, and Mercedes Martinez. But you have talent like that, like Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, who had a pretty decent showing at the Royal Rumble on Sunday too. So they got that much support in her too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Following the opening match of the night, we also had a singles match between Leon Ruff and Austin Theory. By the way, are you digging the Way's new entrance music?
Yeah, I was able to catch some of it because they were talking on top of it, so I couldn't fully hear the music, but it sounded pretty good. What did you think about it?
I thought it was good. It is definitely a change from that punk rock intro that they kind of have to something a little bit more hip hop, a little bit more poppy. I dug it, from a production standpoint, but the match itself was pretty good. Leon Ruff has had this beef with Johnny Gargano and the Way now for weeks, ever since Leon Ruff took that title away from him months ago. Gargano was able to break that curse, but it looks like they don't want to leave that alone. They just don't want to let things go. So we saw this match between Austin Theory and Leon Ruff. There was a moment where Gargano actually gets kicked out of the match when Leon does kind of like an Eddie Guerrero playing possum type of deal, where he's like, and then he takes a bump on the ground, and then the ref was like, "Hey, I saw you. What? No, you're out of here." So that kind of evened up the odds for him. And even though Leon was real close, man, Austin Theory got actually a much deserved win because he has been on a losing streak for the last several months. So not a bad win for Austin Theory. Good showing for Leon Ruff.
Yeah, but it looks like we got a little bit of a storyline brewing too, because even after the match, we had a visitor that was nearby, and Dexter Lumis. So is this going to be starting off
yes, that was
storyline between Dexter and Austin Theory? Is he the new Roderick Strong that's going to be freaked out by Dexter?
That was great, though. That I love that at the ending of that, when Theory was about to attack Ruff with the bell, and Dexter Lumis comes out, and he's like, "Nope," and literally yanks out a handful of hair out of his scalp, and smells it, and he smells it. The detail to the Dexter Lumis character is awesome. I absolutely love it, and I think that Lumis versus Theory, that's a takeover match right there.
That's going to be quite the interesting matchup. And it's funny how they're taking like with the creepy thin man character from Charlie's Angel movie with him yanking out the hair and smelling it. But if somebody's going to fit that character, it's Dexter Lumis. So this is going to be a nice display of talent from both of these guys, for Austin and for Dexter Lumis.
And guys, if you're just joining us for the very first time, welcome to the Debrief. We are covering both NXT and AEW Dynamite tonight. Leave your comments of what you thought of both shows in the comment section. Make sure you share tonight's show in your favorite wrestling group and tag your friends in the comment section so you can join us in the conversation. But moving on to another Dusty Rhodes match. It was the quarterfinal match. In the men's side, it was Legado del Fantasma, Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wild going up against Lucha House Party. Legado del Fantasma getting that win over Lucha House Party, man. I thought Lucha was actually going to do it. They've been on a winning streak. But Legado gets a much-deserved win. This was a face-off of who was the superior beings in the Lucha Libre style, and Legado del Fantasma came out on top tonight. I mean, I really wish there was Lucha House Party, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad at Legado del Fantasma.
No, man. Especially this week, the Latinos really representing between Damian Priest being on Monday Night Raw and the Royal Rumble. Bad Bunny. We got to see another sort of critter in Gran Metalik was wearing a mask that was very similar to Lince's. So we dubbed them the Lince brothers at this point.
The Lince brothers.
I think that's what cost him the match there. You know, he wasn't as aerodynamic as he normally is with the Gran Metalik mask. But truly an amazing performance by all four Latinos in this match. And it's Legado del Fantasma's time, man. And they're going to be facing MSK in the semifinals for the Dusty Cup Classic, man. That's going to be another great match, another awesome display of talent right there.
Oh, completely agree, man. Now we did have an in-ring promo with Pete Dunne and NXT Tag Team Champions Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, which ended up leaving because they didn't even get to speak because Finn Balor came out, to remind everyone of what he did last week. That's what Pete Dunne, he snapped Balor's fingers last week after the match. Mm-hmm. And Dunne is calling out Balor. He's like, listen, I'm tired of waiting. My time is now. Balor's is like, well, you're gonna get your opportunity at NXT TakeOver Vengeance. So we're gonna get that title match in 1 week from Sunday. So we got a pay-per-view in a week and a half, which I'm already excited about. Man. But then in the middle of this promo, Edge's music hits the CWC, interrupting this in-ring promo between Finn and Pete Dunne. And Edge had some great things, complimenting the NXT guys and the wrestling, and that the W and the WWE and the NXT is really the standout part of wrestling, of what it is. But he did point out that he did win the Royal Rumble on Sunday. He still has to pick a champion, and he looked at Finn. He looked at Pete. He's almost teasing like he might go for the NXT. And then later on, we got to see Karrion Kross in the backlot parking lot area confronting Edge. And he's like, let me just remind you, I never lost that title. And you're not going to be facing Finn or Pete. You're going to be facing me. So this is a lot to process, dude. Like
Bro.
this is just so much to process. The possibility of Edge versus Finn Balor, that's money. The possibility of Edge versus Karrion Kross, that's money.
Man,
right now, it is a dream booker's scenario.
It's the ultimate pick of the litter at this point, man, between, talents newer and younger. And just that rub, that's just an amazing rub of having somebody with the, the prestige and the history of Edge teasing, even if it's just a tease, coming on NXT and just giving that rub and saying, essentially what we saw from Charlotte when she won the Royal Rumble. And out of all the people, she chose to go up against Rhea Ripley, to go up against the NXT Women's Champion. So it's not unprecedented. No. I wouldn't be mad at that. We were talking about this before the show. Edge versus Finn Balor, I'm not mad at. Edge versus Pete Dunne, I'm not mad at. And we've even seen on social media with Randy Orton already calling out Karrion Kross. So Randy versus Karrion, great. Karrion versus Edge, another fantastic match. There's just so many dream matches. It's the perfect time for Edge to have come back healthy and with the accolade of winning the Royal Rumble to just tease all these things. It just has us just thinking about these and talking about these potential matches that we can see. So, it's still going to be interesting to see which way Edge goes with his pick, but this is just another good option for him to have, whether it's Pete Dunne or Finn Balor.
Oh, either way it goes, it's going to be a win for us. That's all I got. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on, we did have a women's match between Toni Storm and Jessica Maya, but this had a DQ finish. I was setting up for the show, so I wasn't 100% sure, but did Mercedes Martinez interfere in this match?
Yeah, so we saw Mercedes Martinez interfere, of course, started attacking not only Toni Storm, Jessica Maya. Jessie got knocked out of the ring because this isn't about her at this point. It's about Toni Storm, Mercedes Martinez, and then out comes the NXT Women's Champion, Io Shirai, still staking a claim too, because it looks like at Vengeance, I believe they did fully announce it, but it is going to be a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship between Io, Toni, and Mercedes. The women's division is so talented where you can have that tag match and this triple threat, and you're not losing out on anything.
That's a personal dream match for me. Just having Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez in the same ring, that's a personal dream match for me because I am a huge Mercedes Martinez fan. Boricua in the house, by the way. So, man, that's going to be a banger of a match at NXT TakeOver Vengeance. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. Io, do you think Io's going to drop it? But I mean, I know it's early to predict. I mean, we still got a go home show to go, but I think it's time for Io to drop it, dude.
It's just there's so much there's so much talent waiting behind her. I wouldn't be mad at any outcome, whether Mercedes walks out, Toni, or even Io retains the NXT Women's Championship. But we know what's down the pipeline. And if they decide to move Io Shirai to, say, Monday Night Raw, because it doesn't seem as they're as invested in Asuka right now when she took the pin when it came to the match on Raw. So what if we got to see Io versus or even teaming up with Asuka down the line? I wouldn't be mad at. So there's just so much potential on NXT women's division. It could go any way, man. It could go to Toni. It could go to Mercedes being that, that new bar that sets it for the women's division there because of how much experience she's had and, just how her new character and how, strong and how, badass she basically is right now. This can go any way, but you have so much talent coming down the pipeline because we know Raquel Gonzalez is going to be really close to that title picture too. There's so many ways you can go with this, and either story is going to be great.
Oh, I completely agree. Now, moving on, we did have a backstage segment where Johnny Gargano and Kushida were kind of involved. It was near Regal's office. I think Gargano was going to request something from Regal. Oh, he opens the door. Kushida's in there, and Kushida's like, he's busy right now. You can come back later. And then he's like, I'll come back later. And then Johnny Gargano starts attacking Kushida, and they start going at it in William Regal's office. But now we know that it's official. We are going to have an NXT North American Championship match at NXT TakeOver Vengeance between Gargano and Kushida. This is also going to be another banger of a match right here, dude.
Oh, yeah. They've been teasing this. We knew this was going to happen, especially when they're on the same side of the bracket for the Dusty Cup Classic. Like, we knew this was going to happen at some point, so it's great to be seeing these two guys finally get a championship match against each other at a takeover. So we'll see if Johnny Takeover has what it takes to not drop it. Can he continue to stave off the curse of Gargano? Can he retain his title?
We'll see. We'll see if he can. Before we move on, let's read a couple comments here. We have Donald Cabral. He's saying NXT was amazing. Let's see here. And he's saying that he's disappointed in AEW. The in-ring product is getting worse. Let's see here. Harold Pollack, he's saying that it was only 3 good matches tonight and will look to be a pay-per-view like show on paper. Really? That's interesting, because I did have the AEW show on the iPad, so I was kind of keeping up on matches. I know that main event match was real good, and we'll get to that there. But a question here from Bob Geertz: who do you think Edge will pick? Your mic went out.
That is so tough. That is such a tough pick right now. Who Edge would pick? I'm still thinking it's going to be Spear versus Spear at this point. Right now I'm leaning towards Roman Reigns, especially for that monster heel versus, now the ultimate babyface in Edge, actually having gotten over his feud with Randy Orton on Monday Night Raw. I think this is a good time to have Spear versus Spear, rated R superstar versus the head of the table.
I agree. That's the title match, but I personally want to see him go to the NXT title match.
Oh yeah, him and Finn Balor with it.
Maybe because the title looks more like the world title.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, man. So we did have a cruiserweight title match between Kurt Stallion and Santos Escobar. Very entertaining match. We did get to see Scarlett kind of watching from a distance, kind of like sending a little response to what Escobar said about Scarlett and Karrion Kross a few weeks ago during a backstage promo. And it looks like what he said came back to bite him in the ass. Because even though he did beat Kurt Stallion to retain his Cruiserweight Championship, Karrion Kross comes out, he takes out Legado, he takes out Joaquin, and he takes out Raul. And he says, I'm going to give you a little time. He like, you don't understand what you just said, so I'm going to give you time to really process it before you get this ass whooping. That's pretty much what Karrion Kross said.
That's how you know it's serious, man. I'm gonna give you time to think about the hurt I'm gonna give you.
Exactly. he's like, move along, TikTok. And I'm like, what? So Santos is just looking at him with this smirk, like, you ain't gonna do nothing. But like Kross is just like, move along, like, get out of here.
Man,
so good.
It's man, and that's another Puerto Rican too, which we found out not too long ago from doing some research. Karrion Kross, also Puerto Rican representing.
Yeah.
Yes, this is some really good storytelling when you have what you thought was a throwaway line in the backstage promo with Legado de Fantasma, and that can end up being the storyline when they were talking down to all the champions and how the only one that still remains champion right now is Santos Escobar. And then turn that one line into a possible feud against Karrion Kross because he has run through everybody in the Cruiserweight division. Maybe it's time for him to get put down, put in his place, get humbled just a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Because Karrion's not a cruiserweight at all.
No, I was like, bro, you're a little bigger than 205. I don't know if you're gonna be able to make that weight. You're gonna have to cut some serious weight, bro.
They'll stretch it. They'll stretch it out.
The same way they did with Buddy Murphy, the Juggernaut, when he was like,
they'll just change the number to 305 live, so he fits the parameters. But in the main event of NXT, man, we did have another Dusty Rhodes tag team quarterfinal. The Undisputed Era, Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, going up against Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa, the unlikely team that did get the W tonight. And they showed some incredible chemistry. It was hard hitting. I mean, it went almost 10 minutes over the broadcast time. That's how good this match was. I really thought that we possibly would get some type of a three-peat from the Undisputed Era, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But I'm totally okay with Ciampa and Thatcher winning the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I thought they were close to pulling off a DIY kind of situation when they were both in submission holds. When Adam Cole had I believe he had Tommaso Ciampa in the figure 4, and then out came, or that was the other way around. Tommaso Ciampa was in the stronghold, and Thatcher was in the figure 4. It looked like they were reaching for each other, and I thought they were going to do that DIY thing, with like grab each other and like help each other out, but no, it wound up being Tommaso Ciampa kicks out. He's able to save it for his team, and just especially the ending segment with all the different moves that they were doing to each other. Timothy Thatcher sacrificed himself essentially on the outside to make sure he eliminated Roderick Strong and was able to set up and take it out Adam Cole on the outside. That allowed Tommaso Ciampa to hit the Willow's Bell onto Roderick Strong as soon as he got into the ring. Looked like he was getting ready to get in there.
Yep.
And boom, out of nowhere, Willow's Bell. And the unlikely duo gets the team. And they're going to be facing another what originally was an unlikely duo. And it seems kind of like a mirror match, except for Timothy doesn't have as much hair as James Drake. We're going to get Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher going up against the grizzled young vets, Liverpool's #1. And Zach Gibson and James Drake. That's going to be one stiff affair.
Emphasis on the stiff, because these guys hit with the baddest of intentions, but all 4 of them. So I'm definitely looking to that semifinal match at the Dusty Classic. But overall, man, NXT, bro, 2 thumbs up for me tonight, man. It was from beginning to end great. Oh, by the way, there was this this promo, Ting Sao, what was it called? The
I texted it to you.
I know. I'm looking.
Is it Tian Sha?
Tian Sha with the Xia Li. The whole story behind Tian Sha. Oh, awesome! Like I thought this was like maybe a series for like something,
right?
And it turns out to be a character for NXT based on the Xia Li situation and Boa. So, what was your initial take on that? Because I thought it was very interesting to keep adding that backstory to Xia Li.
I thought if I wasn't watching, I would have thought this was like a teaser trailer for like an Amazon Prime exclusive series or something, like something that I would have seen in like Ghost of Tsushima, like the way that they had done the animation and everything, and just that cool storytelling, just that history. Like it sounds like a true legit folklore, which you can start believing if you watch movies like, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, watch some of those old school martial arts movies where they have this kind of storyline bleeding into it. But the fact that they're connecting it, like you said, into what we saw between, Boa and Xia Li, and now giving the name to who appears to be the leader of the stable. Like, I wanted to see them just show up and just wreck house. Like, these need to be one of the most dominant stables, and not just because they're big and bad, but because of how tough they are. Because of how, seeing Xia Li when she had a return match, no selling everything, because her training, her being beat up and attacking Boa, back and forth, where they just don't feel pain. And then to have somebody that's the one that teaches you, whoever that leader is, that needs to be like the final boss, like that's just going to be another, if they wind up going for the women's division, that's going to be another amazing talent. Like, I'm looking forward to see this stable and just see how nasty that they can get.
Yo, I'm just so impressed right now of the storytelling they're doing with Xia Li, and they're taking their time because they've been doing it for the last 2 months, just from having the losing streak to having to go back to her family in shame, to take the beating of beatings, and then to come back even stronger with this almost demonic presence.
Man.
And now you're just wrecking shop, and then you add in that extra little layer of character that this character Xin Xiao is thousands of years old, and it's some type of malevolent spirit that needed to get rid of fear in order to overcome all of the dishonor its family had. So I'm absolutely loving it. I dig multi-layered stories and multi-layered characters. I really dig that. And NXT does that perfectly.
And just that, like you said, little by little too. You don't have to step on the gas pedal. Yeah. Don't rush it. Yeah. Take your time with it.
Absolutely, man. But dude, NXT was great. The break beat, the beach break. I can't even tell you can't even talk. The beach break. It looked real good. I saw the card and I saw most of the matches, and they were real good, but I kind of felt like it let me down, except the end. The end was real good. So let's run down AEW Dynamite. So how did we open up? I know we opened up with a battle royal, right?
Yeah, so we opened up the show with a 10-team over-the-top tag team battle royal to determine the number one contender for the Young Bucks AEW Tag Team Championships at Revolution. And they were even in the match themselves, stipulating that had they won the battle royal, they would actually get to choose their opponents. And they were even teasing possibly calling out the Impact champions or the TNA Tag Team champions in the Good Brothers, but that didn't come to pass because out of the 10 teams, we did have, again, the champions, the Young Bucks, Jurassic Express, Private Party, Top Flight, The Acclaimed, 2 teams representing Dark Order and Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, and a team of Alex Reynolds and John Silver. We also had 3 teams representing the Inner Circle with Jericho and MJF, Proud and Powerful, and Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager.
Before you continue, I feel like AEW is just taking everybody. They're like, all right, everybody's working tonight. And they just put everyone in this just ridiculous opening match. There's just so much, dude. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, this is like what Harold was talking about. You know, they're really trying to build this up like a pay-per-view level, you know, special event. So why not put as many names as you can get in there? If you realize one team was missing, and that's the former AEW Tag Team Champions in FTR, who were suspended after their actions last week, attacking Jurassic Express after Jungle Boy Jack Perry got the upset win over FTR member Dax Harwood. So because of that, they got suspended, and that's they were replaced by Dark Orders 3 and 4, Alex Reynolds and John Silver. However, we did get a nice little special shout out by the Red Rocker himself, Sammy Hagar, gave support to the team of Sammy and Hager. I get it. So yes. Unfortunately, they did not get the win. It ultimately came down. The last 3 teams was Sammy Guevara representing his team. We did have Darius, who I believe is the older brother of Top Flight, and we had MJF and Chris Jericho. So it came down to those final 4. When they went to eliminate the last member of the Acclaimed, Sammy Guevara accidentally gets eliminated by Chris Jericho, which of course adds a little bit more fuel to the fire.
Accidentally.
It ultimately came down to Chris Jericho, who ultimately eliminated Darius Martin from Top Flight to get the win. So we did have Chris Jericho and MJF survive all other 9 teams in this battle royal to get the win. But we did have some interesting situations where we did have Isaiah Cassidy of Private Party did get eliminated by the Good Brothers. They came out into the middle of the match, and as he was trying to get back into the ring, he actually got eliminated by the Good Brothers because, of course, they are going to be challenging for those Impact Tag Team Champions fairly soon. And other than that, a big one was John Silver. Johnny Hungy was hungry enough to eliminate Jake Hager from this battle royal. So it looks like this might not be the end of Sammy and Jake going up against some members of the Dark Order here.
Dude, I'm so glad you took notes on AEW today because
this was tough, man. Trying to follow this was hard.
I could not keep up with that because I was already dealing with everything else.
Yeah,
I'm looking at what you and I'm like, kudos to you for keeping up with that, bro, because I couldn't have done that. I did see that there was a video package with Jade Cargill. What was that all about?
Yeah, it was just her working out, and she is looking ripped. And that's because for a good reason, which we can jump to really quickly, but it was announced. It is official. We are going to have the mixed tag team of Shaquille O'Neal, Big Diesel himself, teaming up with Jade Cargill, going up against Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet. It was officially confirmed on Thursday during Inside the NBA. They had been mentioning it, and they were questioning Shaq about it. And he called out Cupcake Cody Rhodes himself, saying that he's getting ready to lay him down. And he even has a signature move. They asked, like, what are you going to be able to do in there? He displayed his signature move, the Black Tornado, which is essentially looks just like the Judas Effect. Like it was just he just did like a back elbow and then punched the screen divider that they had between him and Kenny. And it's what you would expect with Shaq and with all these guys ribbing him, especially Charles Barkley. But he did bring it up, and it's official. We are going to get this match on Wednesday, March 3rd on Dynamite.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to see that because I kind of want to see how Shaq does or how poorly he does. You think he'll do good?
Hey, we saw what Snoop Dogg did. So can't, the bar is set pretty low for Shaq.
It is pretty low.
We had the best splash came from Bad Bunny this weekend. So we
That's
get to
true.
hang our hat on that. But we did get to have some another interview inside the ring. We had Tony Schiavone, who was going to be interviewing TNT champion Darby Allin and Sting. When they have their upcoming street fight. They're gonna have the upcoming street fight at Revolution. Of course, they were interrupted by Team Taz, which again, Ricky Starks looks more and more like old school Rock. Every single time you see him, he had the shirt, he had the shades, he had the hair. He just doesn't have the delivery. It's decent, but it's not Rock level stuff. Even though he did call out Darby Allin, said that they are going to be there next week when Darby Allin is going to be defending the TNT Championship against Joey Janela. But of course, we're going to have Team Taz being very close attention to this. However, they did call out Sting, like, you may not be the icon anymore. You don't look like the same guy that you were before. But Sting rebutted and said, you know what? I'm going to be there next week too. I'm going to have Darby Allin back. And guess what? I still am the man. So you're going to have to see it for yourself. So look, Sting is slowly getting ready for his England return. Jose, how do you feel about this? Do you think he is going to be able to deliver in this street fight when you have the young, hungry guys in Team Taz and all he has is his non-adopted, stepson in Darby Allin?
I don't know, man. I don't know if he can. I don't even if he can go in the ring. I mean, ever since Seth Rollins got his hands on him back in 2016, 2015, I just felt like it's just time. He should just stay at a manager level and just kind of keep Darby Allin's back. I don't think he has any business getting into the ring right now. I do think it's cool that, these both face painted characters are kind of teaming up with each other. He's like the offspring of Sting. But let's see how this all plays out, man. Because if he's just going to go in there and just swing his bat left and right, I mean, I'm okay with that, but don't do it all the time. And I think they're just really overusing Sting at this moment because they're bringing him out every single week. They're not keeping him special. And I think someone like Sting, you need to keep special because then it loses that thing. People are just going to be like, oh, it's Sting again.
Yeah, do you feel like that's kind of dipping a little too close into, WWE territory where they're, bringing back some of these older guys?
Can be. I think so. That formula has been proven to work in WWE. So I don't see why it wouldn't work in AEW, but I just think they're really hammering it too much.
Yeah, especially when you've seen the success of, Jake the Snake Roberts or Tully Blanchard, those guys, and Arn Anderson, what they've been doing with those guys as in, manager roles, even though they are, given mic time, they're even interfering in some of the matches, which we'll see it a little bit later. But yeah, they're not being overdone. They're not being overbooked. They're there for their specific reason and they're taking care of it. It's just that they really seem to really be pushing or really teasing that possible return match for Sting. So, hopefully we'll be able to, whether it continues or finally figure out what he's going to be like in the ring come Revolution and see what his future is going to be in AEW going forward.
Yeah, man. Now, I did watch this match, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, and I was surprised. I was surprised that Britt Baker was able to get the win over Thunder Rosa, but at the end of the match, I know. But at the end of the match, I did see that Thunder Rosa was being escorted out. I don't know if was actually concussed or if she was working it, but was there something that happened to Thunder Rosa during that match that made her sell like that? So
towards the end of the match, we did have Rebel, not Reba, and they added that to Britt Baker's lower third, which I still think is funny. She actually got into the ring while the ref was distracted and took off the middle turnbuckle. So the final segment was, as they were battling back and forth, Britt Baker actually hit Thunder Rosa with a lethal combination, landing on the back on the knee and then essentially using a flatliner, tossing her into the exposed turnbuckle. Now, I believe it's selling, but she did a really good job of it. However, if it's true, it looked like when she did fake that she was going to hit the metal, she did snap her head back really quickly, and it looked like she might have clipped the top rope. So if it is a legit injury, it would have came from that. It would came like from a whiplash effect. But it looked more like they were just really selling that she got stunned, that she's going to be affected by this match from Britt Baker. And this is a big win for Dr. Britt Baker DMD because she needed it, because it's officially been announced there is officially going to be the AEW Women's Championship Eliminator Tournament. 16 women. Is going to take place both in USA and Japan. So already starting to see a little bit of a camaraderie working with some groups over there in Japan, over there in the East. And they finally announced all 16 participants because they had officially announced the first match was going to be Riho and Serena Deeb. However, they had announced the rest of the ladies in the tournament. Representing Japan in the Japan side is going to be Aja Kong, Yuka Sakazaki, Veni, Emi Sakura, who we've seen before, Ryo Mizunami, Maya Segura, Rin Kadokura, and Maki Ito. So we've seen some of the women before in AEW, especially before even All Elite took place, when we did have, women's battle royals and women's matches before. And then on the USA side, we do have Riho versus Serena Deeb. We're going to have Dr. Britt Baker DMD, Nyla Rose, Ty Conti, Anna Jay, Thunder Rosa, and Layla Hirsch has qualified for those 8 women on the USA. You know us, man. I love a tournament. I love a good tournament. And if you really want to put eyes on the women's product, which is what we felt is a little bit lacking of AEW compared to NXT, which we
this is
speak highly enough of all the women in NXT. This is one way to get eyes and put together some really good matches, and you will be able to be in that conversation because you have a lot of talented women here.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree. This is definitely AEW's chance to display their women's division. And honestly, I'm looking at the brackets. It looks like for 16? I honestly think it should be 32. Just so they could. I don't think they have 32 women to put in there.
They do, because they've been putting a lot of people on AEW Dark. I don't know where that came from, but we're missing names like Big Swole.
See,
we're missing names like Eva Elise, Diamante. Like, they've been pushing some of these ladies.
Why isn't Eva Elise or Diamante on there? Where's Nyla?
No, Nyla's not in here. Yeah, she's on here.
All right.
Yeah, but there's still so many other talented women that you need to get eyes on, like especially Big Swole. Like, she should be someone that goes deep in this tournament because that's somebody you can build around. You can even have Rebel in there for a match if you need to fill a spot. Penelope Ford, is still here. Like, there's plenty of talented women in AEW, and I'm sure they can find some more on the Japan side to fill it out because they're going to have a nice working relationship with them. There's plenty of organizations there. Why not work more with some of these women? But at least they have a nice diverse lineup of really talented women who we've seen before, and some that I'm anxious to see what they can do, especially on the Japan side. Not the women that we haven't seen in AEW before. I'm really eager to see what they can do. When we've seen the likes of Riho and Hikaru Shida and what they have been able to do, I'm excited to see the rest of these women too.
Oh, it's definitely something I'm looking forward to. And just like you said, man, I love me a good tournament. So I'm looking forward to see what this women's tournament in AEW is going to bring to us. But one thing that I was looking forward to that I did not get to catch the entire thing was the wedding of Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. Since you brought up Penelope Ford, what went down in this wedding? I'm looking at your notes and I can't even believe half of the stuff that you just wrote down.
It was really very interesting of what happened. We had Tony Schiavone first interviewing the groom backstage, not for too long, as Vicky Guerrero was the one to call for Kip, and she was the one that escorted Kip to the ring alongside Best Man Miro and Charles the Butler as they began these proceedings. Penelope Ford was brought out and walked down to the ring by Jerry Lynn, who is actually a producer for AEW right now. But man, she looked amazing in that dress. She looked absolutely spectacular. She's a very beautiful woman, and that was a very nice dress on her. And they even had James Mitchell, the Sinister Minister, back in the days of ECW and TNA. He was the one that was actually going to be officiating the wedding. And part of the vows he was saying, through sickness and in health, kayfabing all others out of your life, of course, as you would have to do for a wedding, for a wrestling wedding.
Oh my God.
And then, everything's going on without a hitch. He even gets to the point where, if anybody has any reason for these two, Miro cuts them off. It's like, whoa. I've been this way too many times. We're not going to be doing any of that. So that was a cute little callback to his time in WWE, especially with the wedding between Lana and Bobby Lashley. Because remember, that was a thing. And they had Liv Morgan with the lesbian angle, too. So that was a nice little refresher, having to bring all that back to our memory. But everything else goes off without a hitch. Miro starts to do his toast. He says, "What is love?" The crowd goes crazy, starts singing the actual lyrics to the song. Miro's
what is love? That song?
Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me
no
more. The whole crowd is singing it. Miro's like stuck mid speech. He's like, all right, I'm going to go with it. And he just starts singing it and starts egging on the crowd. But of course, he cuts himself off and he's like, this was nice, but what is this box? There's an empty box. You think it's going to be some shenanigans? Empty box from Chuck, from Charles the butler. That was his present. It was nothing. It turned out to be a little bit of a distraction because he wound up handcuffing the foot of Miro with the long handcuffs to the turnbuckle. And this is where the wedding finally went to pieces. Because, of course, we had Chucky T. He winds up attacking Kip Sabian, who gets thrown into Penelope. Penelope goes into the cake. Of course, God. Kip turns around. He's going to strike Chuck. He winds up hitting Miro. So now Miro's upset. And then as Kip Sabian's getting ready to attack Chuck because Miro's still handcuffed, Orange Cassidy comes out from the base of the cake. He gets involved. Chuck grabs an item from the table, one of the wedding items, hits Kip Sabian with it. This knocks him into Orange Cassidy, who sets up his beach break finisher in the middle of the ring. And him and Chucky T are able to get away while we have Miro, Kip Sabian, and Penelope Ford just covered in cake, just really mad and just yelling at him.
So they named a special event after Orange Cassidy's finisher?
Essentially, yeah. That's pretty much what happened. But you thought I thought they were really going to circumvent everything else we've seen from wrestling weddings. I'm like, oh, this is actually going to be a normal wedding.
No.
Until the very end. So,
just remember, if there's a wedding being promoted on a wrestling show, be prepared to be entertained because it's not going to go accordingly. Nothing's going to go accordingly if there's a wedding on a wrestling show.
Just imagine that was the one time where they subverted expectation. And it was a normal wedding until people would be like, that was boring. That was actually just a regular wedding and nothing crazy happened.
That's exactly what every wrestling fan will say. That's exactly right, man.
But unfortunately, possibly subverting some expectation like we saw from some of the comments earlier. We actually did have a lumberjack match with Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston, of course, continuing the rivalry from last week where Eddie Kingston used a loaded hand when he hit a back fist and Lance Archer to get the win. This time, he was not able to get the win. It was actually Lance Archer getting the win, but they did actually set up some interesting storylines in the same thing too. So on the outside, I had mentioned, how some of the older guys getting involved. Jake the Snake Roberts actually speared. He tackled Angelico on the outside. Out of all people, but you can tell he patted him on the shoulders, like, "Hey, good job, kid, for taking that." So we got to see him involved. But as the Butcher and the Blade were trying to interfere, of course, being friends with Eddie Kingston, we saw two guys, big hoss guys, interfere and basically intervene and stop him. The guys were Bear Bronson and Bear Boulder, known as Bear Country. Looks like they're going to be stepping up in the tag team division, possibly getting a match with Butcher and the Blade. Those are some two big hosses, man. And they're the size of the Butcher. Those are some big dudes. And they were able to keep Butcher and the Blade from interfering, which actually wound up leading to Lance Archer hitting the blackout on Eddie Kingston, getting the win. And that's not even the last that we're going to see of Lance Archer for tonight. Because before we even head into the main event, it was announced next week we're going to have two tag team matches where we're going to have MJF and Chris Jericho going up against the Acclaimed. And Cody Rhodes is going to team up with Lee Johnson going up against Pretty Peter Avalon and former NXT guy himself, Cesar Bononi. He's making his TV debut, man.
I saw him Cesar Bononi. I'm like, oh man, that's AEW's version. Okay,
that's how he changed his name. Yeah, my microphone hit the keyboard. So there's gonna be some interesting matches, but we did get some clarification as to what happened with FTR. Them being so upset with Luchasaurus and with Jungle Boy, they found out a solution on how they're gonna get their revenge. They kidnapped poor little Marco Stunt. They showed him. They pulled him out on a chair. His mouth covered in duct tape. He's handcuffed and tied down to the chair. Poor Marco Stunt. It looks like we're going to be seeing this feud between FTR and Jurassic Express continue. But talking about those tag teams.
So we have one company that endorses arson and attempted murder, and then we have another company that endorses kidnapping. Great.
Yeah. Welcome to wrestling in 2021. But some of the greatest wrestling that we have seen in 2021. In the main event, a six-man tag team match, we had Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers going up against Jon Moxley, Pac, and Rey Fenix. You have arguably three of the most talented technical wrestlers and high flyers in wrestling today, Kenny, Pac, and Rey Fenix, who Rey does not get enough credit for all the crazy stuff that he does in this ring.
I definitely saw this match.
So much stuff happened. I could not take time out to write notes because I would have missed something, and I didn't want to do that.
I was glued to this match, and I was glued to I don't know.
The tag team match was there too. Yeah.
People ask me, how do you watch these both shows? And they don't understand. Like, we've been doing this now for years, where we just for some reason absorb both shows at the same time. But that match is like Rey Fenix. He hit this spinning roundhouse kick off the ropes, snapping Kenny's neck. I was like, what the heck is going on? And then was it Omega that hit a paradigm shift on
Jon Moxley?
We
had Rey Fenix hit a stun gun on Carl Anderson. We saw Pac do a 450 to break up a pin. We saw so many incredible high spots. It seems like you're playing a video game and you started everybody on high finishers, and they were just reversing and using each other's finishers. And there was so many great spots. Again, Rey Fenix just bouncing off everything's a fucking trampoline to him, and being able to bounce off the ropes, hitting all these kicks, jumping off and doing a corkscrew tope. He almost flew over the barricade doing one of his suicide dives. He is freaking insane. And all these guys are so talented. However, you cannot discount the tag team of the Good Brothers. They were able to get Rey Fenix up, hit the Magic Killer, getting the win for Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. And after the match, they start attacking Rey Fenix. Out comes Lance Archer, out of all people. He's still upset with all these guys. So he starts laying out. He takes out the Good Brothers. So we're left with Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega in the ring. Kenny is down. Jon Moxley gets up, and he's getting ready. It looks like he's about to attack Kenny Omega. A masked guy comes into the ring, takes off the mask, hits him with the GTA. KENTA is in AEW. Go to Sleep Club is in the house. He puts Jon Moxley to sleep. Kenny Omega with a big old smile on his face. We are starting to see that union of New Japan and AEW finally coming to fruition, because we got to see the video of Jon Moxley showing up in Japan, even though he was technically here in the States. He showed up there to essentially face off against KENTA. And then we had KENTA here in Jacksonville to face off against Jon Moxley.
That's awesome. That was great.
I
marked out. I'm watching NXT. I'm finishing up my notes, and then I looked, and Harold. Yes, exactly. Just like what Harold's saying. I marked out when KENTA showed up. That was and just like what Harold's saying right here. Yes. I'm very excited that AEW is now hopefully working not only with Impact, but New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I mean, it's like the Power Rangers joining up to become just as one mega wrestling Zord to try to take out the gigantic AEW. But in the end, guys, they're not the winners. We are the fans, the people that consume and digest this stuff 24/7. We are the real winners in this, because guess what? We get to see all the matches.
Take all the wrestling, bro. Give me all the good wrestling like this, bro. I'll take it all.
Oh, man. Well, guys, that is our show for tonight. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this first episode of the Debrief here on SK Wrestling. Make sure you follow SK Wrestling on all of our social media platforms for the most up-to-date news stories in wrestling. Also, for never miss a live show or a post from SK Wrestling, follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, YouTube, here on Facebook. And also you can follow Rico and myself on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook. So with that, we will be back next Wednesday for another debrief show, breaking down everything you guys need to know for AEW and NXT. And we'll also bring in some predictions because next weekend is NXT TakeOver Vengeance. So we're going to bring those predictions.
All right. Let's do it, man.
All right, guys. So for Rico El Glorioso, I'm your host, Jose G. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Have a good night.
There you guys.